January 5, 2024. Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 is at 16,000 feet when a door plug tears off the fuselage. Nobody dies. But this single failure nearly finishes Boeing. The 737 MAX, already the most scrutinized aircraft program in modern aviation, triggers an unprecedented FAA production cap, with almost $700 billion in undelivered orders hanging over the company. What came next would determine whether Boeing could actually survive the plane it built. At 5:13 p.m. on January 5, 2024, Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 lifted off from Portland, bound for Ontario, California. 30 seconds after takeoff, as the Boeing 737 MAX 9 climbed through 14,800 feet, a deafening explosion tore through the cabin. A door plug meant to seal an unused emergency exit blew out, leaving a gaping hole in the side of the nearly new aircraft. Oxygen masks dropped, cabin pressure vanished, and the wind roared through the fuselage. Passengers clung to their seats, some losing personal belongings to the sky. The crew declared an emergency and steered the crippled jet back to Portland. Miraculously, no one was killed or seriously hurt, but the damage extended far beyond that single flight. The incident thrust Alaska Airlines into chaos and forced the industry to confront a question that had haunted Boeing for years. How could a critical component fail so catastrophically on a brand new plane? Once again, Boeing's quality control failures were headline news, and the public's trust in the 737 MAX shattered all over again. Within hours of the Alaska Airlines incident, the Federal Aviation Administration stepped in with sweeping authority. All Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft using the same door plug design were grounded nationwide, halting flights and deliveries. The Federal Aviation Administration then imposed a hard ceiling. Boeing could not produce more than 38 MAX jets per month. This cap froze the company's output at its pre-incident rate, regardless of customer demand or backlog. For the first time, the regulator made clear that Boeing's own oversight was no longer enough. Inspectors from the Federal Aviation Administration took up permanent positions inside Boeing's Renton factory, reviewing every step of the assembly process. The cap became a daily reminder that safety concerns now dictated the pace of business. Boeing's ambitions to ramp up production, recover lost ground, and restore its reputation were now subject to direct federal control. The message was unmistakable. Trust, once broken, would have to be earned back, one airplane at a time. Rows of unfinished jets lined the tarmac at Moses Lake, each a reminder of the scale of Boeing's challenge. After the FAA imposed its production cap in January 2024, aircraft waiting for fixes or final inspections began to stack up, turning the storage site into a symbol of the company's struggle. Boeing's leadership responded with a sweeping overhaul, pouring resources into safety training and quality programs. The company brought in new teams to audit every step of the assembly process, retraining workers and adding layers of checks that slowed production but aimed to prevent another disaster. Kelly Ortberg, named CEO in August 2024, became the public face of these efforts, addressing lawmakers and employees with a message focused on safety above all. The workforce, once pressured to move fast, now faced a different mandate: do it right, even if it takes longer. Meanwhile, Boeing's stock price slid to levels not seen in years, reflecting deep skepticism from investors. Recovery was slow and often painful, more about cleaning up past mistakes than celebrating progress. Each improvement, whether in training, process, or oversight, had to be proven, not promised. Spirit AeroSystems, once spun off from Boeing in 2005, had grown into the world's largest aerostructures supplier, producing the fuselages for every 737 MAX. But by 2024, Spirit's role in the supply chain had become a liability. A series of missed quality checks and production delays at its Wichita plant exposed a weak point that Boeing could no longer ignore. The Alaska Airlines incident drew a straight line back to the fragmented oversight between Boeing and its largest supplier. In July 2024, Boeing announced a $4.7 billion all-stock deal to bring Spirit back in-house. The move was not about headlines or appeasing Wall Street. It was a structural correction, an admission that accountability for safety and quality could not be outsourced. By December 2025, Spirit's 15,000 employees and all 737 fuselage work were fully under Boeing's direct control. This reintegration gave Boeing the authority to set standards, audit every stage of fuselage assembly, and close the gaps that had allowed critical errors to slip through. The recovery effort shifted from simply tightening oversight to owning the most vulnerable part of the manufacturing process. In March 2026, the Federal Aviation Administration withdrew its hard cap on Boeing's 737 MAX production. The fixed ceiling, once a rigid brake on how many jets could leave the line each month, was replaced by a performance-based oversight model. Boeing was no longer bound by a simple number. Instead, every increase in output now depended on sustained results, defect rates, audit scores, and real-time quality data. FAA inspectors remained embedded at Renton, but their role shifted. They were no longer enforcing a stop sign, they were monitoring a probation. Boeing's ability to ramp up would be measured not in promises but in proven performance, quarter by quarter. For the first time since the Alaska Airlines blowout, the regulator stepped back from emergency mode and began to redefine what trust would mean. The company's path forward was no longer about meeting a quota, but about demonstrating over time that its reforms could hold. The question of oversight became the question of belief. With the production cap gone, attention shifted to the last two members of the 737 MAX family, the MAX 7 and MAX 10. Both variants had spent years in regulatory limbo, their certification delayed by a technical hurdle that proved more stubborn than expected: the engine anti-ice system. The FAA refused to grant exemptions for a system that did not meet its updated safety standards, forcing Boeing's engineers to redesign the hardware and software from the ground up. By early 2026, the fix was complete and ready for evaluation, clearing the path for final certification tests. The MAX 7, the smallest variant, was vital for customers like Southwest Airlines, which needed its range and efficiency for dense, short-haul networks. The MAX 10, with its stretched fuselage, offered airlines a high-capacity option to compete with Airbus's A321neo. Approval of these models was not just about restoring Boeing's full product lineup, it was about translating years of recovery work into aircraft that airlines could finally put into service. Certification now became the bridge between internal reform and commercial reality, with both Boeing's technical teams and FAA gatekeepers holding the line on what would fly next. With regulatory constraints loosened and new aircraft types nearing certification, the scale of Boeing's commercial backlog now defines the company's reality. More than 4,800 unfilled orders for the 737 MAX remain on the books, representing a staggering $695 billion in future revenue, the largest order book ever recorded in commercial aviation. Major airlines and leasing companies, from Southwest and United to Ryanair and FlyDubai, are waiting for deliveries that underpin their own fleet plans and business models. For these customers, delays are not just an inconvenience, they disrupt route launches, growth strategies, and even financial forecasts. The pressure is no longer theoretical. Each aircraft that rolls off the line must meet not only regulatory approval, but also the immediate needs of carriers banking on new jets to replace aging fleets and fuel expansion. Boeing's recovery, once measured in boardroom promises and internal reforms, has moved into the realm of delivery performance. The company's ability to turn this historic backlog into delivered aircraft, on time and to specification, now stands as the ultimate test of its turnaround. Every missed deadline, every quality slip ripples outward through the industry, raising the stakes for both Boeing and the airlines counting on its success. Boeing's future now rests on the move from rate 47 to rate 53. In the summer of 2026, the company reached a production pace of 47 jets per month, supported by the opening of a fourth assembly line in Everett. The goal is clear: achieve 53 aircraft per month by the end of the year, matching the highest ambitions set before the crisis. Each increase, though, is a test of whether the changes made since 2024 can hold under pressure. Every fuselage, every inspection becomes a measure of whether quality can be protected at scale. Kelly Ortberg's team faces a simple, relentless question: can Boeing deliver more jets, faster, without repeating the mistakes that led to disaster? The FAA, no longer counting planes but tracking every metric, remains an embedded witness. In the next 12 months, the answer will become clear, not in speeches or press releases, but in defect rates, delivery records, and the confidence of airlines who have waited years for their planes. Boeing has earned another chance to prove itself, but the verdict this time will be written on the factory floor. A single flaw can ground an entire industry. Today, every 737 MAX that leaves the factory is a test, not just of engineering, but of accountability. As Boeing rebuilds, the world is watching. Trust, once lost, is not restored by promises. It is earned, flight after flight. Share your thoughts below.